So, hello everybody. Welcome to this episode of Dead Feature Rant. Dead Feature Rant. I got a couple more of those. So, on my screen left and my screen right are both familiar faces here. Screen left is N3oplasm and screen right Daddio66. And I'm going to start with you, Daddio, with just kind of give everyone a little bit of a review of your kind of background and experience with survival games and MMOs and SOE and all that sort of stuff.
Let's see. I've been playing video games now since many years ago, starting way back when my $10 a week allowance would go into the arcades. Playing Pac-Man, Asteroids, Pong, Space Invaders, all the old, when they first came out. Since then, I've gone from console to PC and currently hooked on some SOE games. Landmark, been playing DCUO for about 3 years.
Yep.
Landmark since beta now. Before that, I was hooked on Free Realms with my kids because it was a nice little community-based MMO doing some music video parodies and stuff in that game.
Nice.
Was heavily into Mech Warrior way back when. Did some modding and mapping for Mech Warrior 4, 3 or 4, I forget which one it was. But
you got one of your maps in, didn't you?
Yeah, I got one of my maps in a clan pack. It was an expansion pack. It was for Mech Warrior 4. And it was really nice. It was a nice little surprise when they asked me if they could do it.
It's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah. So now, like I say, currently working on Landmark and just having a blast with that, waiting eagerly for H1Z1 to come out because I want a game I can play where I know I'm going to die.
Yes.
And I want that counter on the screen to see how long I can stay alive. I've been playing a game called Banished lately.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a survival game. I'm trying to kill off the town folks. I don't want to win that game. I want to die. I want to see them suffer. And it's just they ain't. They aren't dying on me. So
that's funny.
I want a real game, a real challenge. So that's what I'm looking forward to with H1Z1.
Cool deal. All right, and N3oplasm, why don't you give us a little bit of the same, your background and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of survival games, I've been playing a lot of Rust, mostly Rust. I played DayZ, Nether. So I'm really looking forward to H1Z1 because sort of development has stalled on those other games, and I have found them pretty enjoyable so far. So the survival genre is something I'm looking forward to. In terms of SOE games, I guess Landmark is my first SOE game, but I mean, I'm looking forward to this kind of sandbox games they're starting to do now. In terms of MMOs, I've been I haven't done much in terms of MMOs, but I've done first-person shooters is like my main, the main game type I've played. But I've played EVE Online, and that's probably the most I've had experience with, which is sort of a sandbox MMO. So.
It's an interesting kind of sandbox. It's got a lot of those sandbox elements, especially out in 0-0 space, where it's like, okay, we can just set up shop here and try to defend it, and good luck if we can.
Yeah, I really like the sandbox aspects of that MMO.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, I actually played it I played it for a year until I realized, oh man, now I can finally start doing stuff. I don't want to wait another year to actually really start doing cool stuff. I was just very quickly what I had been doing when I finally finished up, other than going in 0-0 space with a big horde of people and then losing myself at a station that isn't there anymore, is I was doing battleship runs with one of the smaller motherships. It was just me and another person doing the tier 4 missions, so we were able to faction up pretty quickly with that and earn a pretty decent amount of money. So I'll just cover my experience a little bit with SOE. I go way back to Neris. I played Infantry, PlanetSide 1. Really missed most of EverQuest 1 and 2, various things behind that, not going to get into the details. Vanguard was into that when it came out, but wasn't really enough people to play with, I felt like, so I ended up not playing that one anymore. And of course PlanetSide 2. I also got in a little bit of DCO. My brother and I were doing some some villainy. After SOE Live 2012, we were kind of getting into it a bit, but then kind of ran into that, like, you need to keep raiding to do more content cap and buy more expansions to get more raid cap, so we kind of stopped playing that for the most part. And in terms of survival games, I've played a whole lot of games over the years. I can't really say which one was the most survivally. One that I don't really bring up too much usually is Doom 3, because the more I think about it, the idea that you've got your flashlight up or you've got your gun up, and the entire time there's places that are specifically designed for you to fall down a hole and have everything surrounding you, and you just have to deal with it. So that not the same kind of survival. I think of survival as a kind of a broad genre. It doesn't have to be zombies and horror and all of that sort of stuff. Terraria, if you put it on hardcore mode, is just as difficult to survive in, or Edge of Space is another one. 2D Sandbox has a lot of that kind of element to them. But other than that, I mean, I've been playing all sorts of games for literally my entire life, so I've got a little bit of experience and understanding of just about everything. Plus, being a bit of a developer, I also have a little bit from that angle. So, that's enough about us. Let's talk about H1Z1. So, the thing that you were talking about there, just a moment ago, Jimmy did address that. Do you remember what that was?
Oh, the radio style broadcast?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So during the interview slash live stream sort of thing, the details kind of came around with that is they want to do some sorts of in-game events and do some of the content that way, and definitely have a lot of stuff that you discover in game. But they don't really want to have things heavily focused on the radio broadcast. They don't want to kind of shove everything in our faces, and especially I don't think they want to start putting the lore in such a way that it kind of pigeonholes that this is what the game has to be because this is what the radio broadcast said it was going to be. Right now, what Karama Pharmaceuticals is, what happened with Pavaglia, all of that stuff, where the disease came from, what the supposed cure is or whatever, all of that stuff is still very ambiguous. The book about the Isle of Death will eventually be able to find in game, I'm hoping. So there's a lot of loose ends and ambiguity out there. It's not they didn't say this is what the world is and now you know everything. They said this is a glimpse of parts of what the world is. Now you know a little bit, and maybe you might be able to do a little bit better when you're actually in the world. But in terms of actually what everything is and how it got to where it was and how we'll be able to remedy the situation and move forward as a society or not, that stuff has not been revealed, and I think that's going to be mostly gameplay and a lot of what the players do and what the developers do through in-game events.
So it's sort of something to get players thinking about what they would want to do in terms of lore, and then kind of get the players to be involved in the process.
Yep. In fact, that was what they asked, was for players to give their survivor
Their
stories.
right.
And it was a huge success. I know JT was following that pretty closely. He was a previous guest. And it's a really awesome thing to include us in the lore in this way and to provide our own way to interact with the world. Now, the other thing is, of course, players can say and do things that don't necessarily match the H1Z1 world. Well, that's fine. Well, we can just say they're kind of crazy. They ate some moldy rye bread or something. They don't know what's going on. Feel bad for that survivor and move on to the next story. Daddy, you got a smile on your face there. Were you going to say something?
Oh, no, the phone was ringing as I tried to mute my mic real quick not to interrupt the show.
That's all good.
But, yeah, I'm hoping, like you say, with the player involvement in the lore of the game, discovering what's going on, where the progression is going to lead to. You can see this leading to maybe expansion packs down the road, military bases down the road, different areas.
Yeah. Expansion packs, I don't think is a word that they're looking, or a set of words they're looking to use. I'm pretty sure everything's going to be just a built-in update. We're giving you guys more content because that's what we're doing with this game. I mean, the announcement was made recently by Smedley. 16,000 square kilometers is how big the maps can potentially be with H1Z1. That's gigantic. That's take what we have for the PlanetSide 2 map and multiply it by 1,000. And that's you're running out of fuel before you fly across that. That is giant.
In some of the streams that they've recently show with the guest streamers playing the game, I was seeing the gas, how it's slowly running out, and you have percentages going down. So you're going to have to find gas as a good resource if you really want to get around. So you're not going to be able to explore the whole map. If you can, you're going to be a great player at survival.
Yeah.
I think if you can get to a border and try to navigate your way around, I'm not sure how it's going to work with the different spawning areas. But if you might be avoiding one spawn area so you don't get sniped there, but you might be running into 2 or 3 other spawn areas.
Yep.
From different people, different groups, different regions. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
And that's still honestly something I'm not 100% sure about. The amount of zombies being made from players is actually going to be a fairly low pace, I would wager, compared to zombies being generated in the world. But I wonder where they're actually going to be generated from, if it's going to be the world edges, especially if we're starting in the southern and eastern edges. I would imagine the northwest is where the zombies are actually coming into the world from. That might not be entirely true, but it seems like that would at least give some direction and some reason why that's the tougher part of the map, because you're just going to have a much higher density up there, and you're going to need a vehicle or a crew to get through it.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm also thinking the resources you're going to have to collect along the way or fortify along the way if you really want to get that far into the map. If you're starting on the southeast and you want to trek northwest, you better have a whole group with you that you can trust.
Oh, yeah. So, this is not going to be easy, especially now that we've seen the effects of durability since last week. That things can break, so you can't just, get your technique down with that torch on lighting things on fire and then just light everything on fire the entire way across and, be some sort of pyro badass. No, that torch is going to break. You're going to need a lot of torches, which means you're going to need to probably not kill everything with fire. Now, that's something I haven't really asked about, if the way you kill things will affect what you can get out of them. I had talked about that with Landmark, but it would make sense here too. If you blow up a wolf with the big explosive, there shouldn't be anything left. If it steps on a giant landmine, you got scraps, useless scraps. So that's a lot more things to think about now. I'll be able to ask them that stuff at the block party. Okay, so I should mention this. Anybody who is in the Southern California area or has the means to get Friday of next week off and get your butt on out here, SOE is having a block party from noon to 6 p.m. Next Friday, the 25th. RSVP on Facebook. Just go to the SOE Facebook page and you can find the event there. Should be a lot of fun. It's across all of their games. Technically cooked scraps indeed. And it's going to be great. There's just going to be devs all over the place, fans all over the place, broadcasters all over the place, and YouTube faces all over the place. It's just going to be awesome. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, they had a major blowout when Landmark was coming out, so this for H1Z1 is going to be totally off the wall. So if you can get there, do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is for all of their games, not just H1Z1, but H1Z1, there's going to be a ton of people there for it. Last time for the 12-hour stream, they didn't announce it ahead of time, so only a few people made it there. This time they're giving enough preparation. I think SOE is going to have a horde. It's going to be swarmed upon by all sorts of everybody. And that's awesome because, H1Z1 hype. It's looking like a great game.
Well, it's like when they should have the fanfares on their property in their parking lots.
Oh, they can't support that many people anymore.
No way. No.
Not even close. So, I mean, one of the nice things about it, not only is it the Forge Light engine that it's being built on, but as they were saying in the interview thing, the tech is being shared between the servers, or between the engines rather. So, what they're doing in PlanetSide 2, what they're doing in H1Z1, what they're doing in Landmark, what they're going to be doing in EverQuest next, all of the upgrades to the tech and optimizations and making things work better, it's all going to go back and forth from each of the different games. So anything that makes the draw calls run more efficiently, for example, that maybe comes from Landmark, that can then be translated to all of the Forge Light games. So it's not just the team working on H1Z1 that's making the game better, it's everyone working on the Forge Light engine that's making the game better, which is totally awesome. And I'm personally really excited for the rate that they can get the game out. They even said this launch is actually going to be a lot faster than all of their other games, which makes sense. That if you kind of look at it from the perspective of this is a PlanetSide 2 mod, not this is a game being built from the ground up with its own custom engine and all of that stuff, you can really see, especially when they were saying number pad 4 for the local microphone, that's out of PlanetSide 2. So the fact that they've already got an established engine, established mechanics, means they are really going to be able to get this game to see the light of day a lot faster than a lot of their other games usually do.
Yeah, it would be really nice if they had down the road. I know Sony's not big on modding for their games, but when I was watching that one stream where they were doing the level design, the tools they were using, I'd love to get my hands on and help them create some areas of this world. Just from my previous experience, with modding and mapping and stuff, it would, if they gave the tools to the community like Landmark is sort of doing, I think H1Z1 would be the game of games.
It would.
It would be totally awesome. I mean, there's so many talented people out there and creative that could the community would dogpile, and Sony would be rolling out the carpet for the people to welcome them, because Landmark opened the doors for it. Let's help build EverQuest next. They're on their chapter is going now. I think they're up to stage 3 with the Karen designs and all that.
Yep.
If they did the same with H1Z1, oh man, develop us a mall, develop us a housing development, and just let us go nuts on it.
Oh yeah. Neo, did you have anything you want to say there?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think I saw that with the dynamic weather they had showed, the snow, didn't they say they were going to include that in PlanetSide? So it seems like some of the development they're doing with H1Z1 they're going to include in the other games. And then I think with the emergent AI, I think they're doing emergent AI in H1Z1.
Yeah, sorry,
I wonder
Bricks.
if that's sort of the stuff we'll see in EQ Next. I think maybe.
Yep. We'll see it in EQ Next. We'll see it in Landmark too. Mm-hmm. It's not just going to be EQ Next. The lack of static spawn points and static mobs in the world is definitely going to be a feature of Landmark as well. And that's one of the things I think everybody is excited for. Like people who don't even care about Landmark, who are just interested in AI and what's potential for games. This is the potential for games. This is the future of it right here. They weren't lying when they said that Storybricks and this emergent AI system is one of their holy grails, that they really want to do something that breaks the paradigm and gives us a truly living and breathing world. So yeah, we're going to see it applied differently in the different games, not at all in PlanetSide 2 because that's a PvP only game. But for H1Z1, we're going to see it. We've already seen the effects of it and how there's the dynamic interactions between all the different things that can exist. And during the live stream, there was one point where he was trying to save himself from a horde of zombies standing on a car, and then the other player shoots him dead, and Jimmy was explaining, well, he was probably trying to get the zombies on you because they'd rather eat something that's not moving than try to kill something that is moving, so he probably killed you and then just ran the other way. Which is, it's a survival technique. They divers with their buddy knife and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's the buddy knife. So you stab your buddy so he gets eaten by the shark.
Yep, many survival games, many of horror survival movies have done the same thing. Even the recent TV series, they've left one behind, either on purpose or by accident.
But if it's a villain, he somehow survives and comes back.
Yep.
Because they don't actually show the person dying, so that means they're not dead.
I really hope that they incorporate the what's the emote system that they have in EverQuest that they're developing for EverQuest Next and so
SOE emote? Oh yeah.
SOE emote. I would love to see that in H1Z1 because as you're dying and you're laughing and your character's there laughing away while it would be great to see.
Yeah, I think it would be a great feature, especially I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who want to do machinima. It's going to be a thing for all the SOE games. I'm sure SOE Mote will eventually make it in PlanetSide 2 in some extent. Maybe not actually. I hope it does. But it would really make sense in H1Z1 because communication is such a big part of the game, and I feel like having a special wave where it's like, hand goes left, hand goes right, hand goes left, and then both hands to middle fingers, and that's your way of indicating to your group, hey, it's me, don't shoot, also there's 2 zombies behind me.
And that's another thing, if they put in the voiceover IP for the game, for grouping, if you're talking to each other in game, are you going to have to whisper, or will
they want it
in like an area?
Yeah,
if you talk too loud or if you shout to somebody, are the zombies going to hear it?
They want that, and that might be one of those server rule set sorts of things that they could actually put in. I imagine when I watch the O Team triple streamers, the Tesachka, who's been on the show, Era Gaming, and EchoX, when they're playing, there's going to be all sorts of loud sounds and screaming and being freaked out, and then one of them is going to sound it off, and then everybody's getting swarmed. So, be kind of a hilarious thing to have to deal with is the people in the group who may happen to freak out when they get surprised, or there happen to be a horde of things coming, or they ate something and now they're all toxified. Should be kind of interesting and entertaining to see how that all plays out if they actually do have that level of audio cueing. Especially, if you're trying to be really quiet and then you drop your keys or your cell phone rings or something, then zombies are still coming after you. So, there's just as many reasons to do it as not to do it, but that's why I feel like that could be potentially a server rule set possibility. Alright. And, there's one of the things that was brought up is that there's kind of poor performance for a lot of survival games. There, a lot of times, a lot of what we've seen is stuff that's being made by indie companies or smaller companies that don't have the same kind of means and know-how, and also don't have this kick-ass proprietary engine to build the game upon. So they kind of have a little bit of a hit to the performance in that way. We're not going to have that with H1Z1. It's actually going to run better than PlanetSide 2 because it's not going to have nearly as many players to have to deal with. And I think the biggest limiting factor is going to be draw calls, which it should be able to handle just fine. First and third person, that's something that they talked about possibly being a server rule set. A first person only server, Jimmy was saying he'd prefer that because he's walking around in first person, someone in third person sees him over a wall, and that's not that he's disadvantaging himself, but that he didn't use third person there to be able to see around where somebody else might have been able to see. So I can definitely understand somebody wanting to do it that way. What do you guys feel about that, like the whole first third person thing? Because we don't have the same kind of awareness as a character in a video game in first person as we do in real life. So it seems like third person kind of helps bridge the gap a little bit, or at least give you a little bit of awareness when something's right behind you, because in a first person game, the front and back surround really doesn't have the same kind of fidelity as actually seeing something in front of you or seeing something behind you. So what do you guys think about that?
I've always preferred first person. It's felt more immersive for me. One of the things I really like about Jimmy is he's like a big like Counter-Strike player, so a lot of the stuff that he's doing with the combat and the weapons, he's basing it off of that. And Counter-Strike is probably like one of my all-time favorite first-person shooters. So
Gotcha.
it's gonna be. I probably prefer like a rule set closer to the first person in terms of what I'd prefer. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'm the opposite of that because I like having not a zoomed out third person view, but just over the shoulder type of thing. Not to look over a wall or gain any perspective. It's just like a field of vision seems better to me in third person than first person. It's like when I'm in first person, I feel very claustrophobic. My field of peripheral vision is not set. Now, if they have an adjustment where you can adjust your field of view in first person, that would really be beneficial. Then,
Actually, different in not planet side, in Landmark, I found when I'm in third person, the field of view is actually slightly narrower. But when and that makes sense because it doesn't have to draw as much stuff off to the left and right. But likewise, when I'm locked into first person, it's kind of opens up a little bit, and it makes for some really interesting screenshots if you want to do the fully zoomed in or the fully zoomed out. Completely changes the perspective and the look of things. So they could actually do that where the first person and the third person have a different field of view, to keep things fair and give kind of the same general range of vision despite having slightly different aperture to it.
I think Jimmy had said that was one of the things you could modify on the client is the FOV, right?
Yeah, that's PlanetSide 1, or not, well, PlanetSide 1, that doesn't matter. PlanetSide 2 also has that. It's, I think, I want to say like 50 to 75 or something is the field of, no, it's 50 is narrow. Maybe it's like 70 to 90 or something.
yeah, I could see like if you were zooming in, as Mr. Poundstein saying, if you're zooming in to do a rifle shot with a scope, third person is going to suck. You're going to need to zoom in to see that scope to go in first person and do that. Same thing with the bow. If you're really taking a long draw and trying to aim, I can see where first person would be more beneficial to you. Maybe even penalize you for being in third person if you're going to do that. Where it's a little harder to aim, a little harder to hit your targets.
Yeah.
So it's 50 one way, 50 the other. I like a little bit of an over the shoulder view personally. So
yeah, well, the option to snap to first person when you use optics definitely is an option they could do too, and that's not server rule set, that's client side. Neo, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, actually, what I'm thinking is like for melee, I could see third person being a little better for that. So maybe one of the rule sets could be like when you're using melee weapons, only third person. When you're using rifles and pistols, maybe first person for that. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And it makes sense if you're trying to aim and look around with a weapon. You're not really as focused on what's to your left and your right. You're mostly trying to line up that shot or determine if that's actually the target you want to shoot at. Alright, so let's continue down. Took front and back two page of notes here. Well, front and back page of notes, I should say, but a lot of notes. And they've said it's probably going to be SOE only servers. They might change that somewhere down the road, but for the most part, I don't think they're going to open it up to anyone else. And they said, that it's not just the idea that they could potentially be opening things up, a bunch of security hazards, but even the idea that being able to maintain the level of security that players are already going to have from the game, it's not going to be possible unless it's on their servers. And that it's Oh, monetization. That was the other thing. If anything related to monetization that's done, you're not going to be able to buy weapons or anything, but that's also something that would have to be on their servers only. We wouldn't be able to outsource it or do anything like that. So the closest we will be able to get is probably the custom server rule sets and using the token voting system to get exactly specifically what we want. And I don't think it's going to be like 1,000 pending server rule sets that only have 2 tokens and none of them go through because everybody wants something slightly different. But I think it's more that communities are going to come together, decide on the server rule sets they want, and then all throw their tokens at it and get it up.
That'd be real good if the community will group together and do that. But again, there's going to be the option of hoping where you can play it your way, or you're going to be able to find a server that you're going to be comfortable playing on. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think SOE doing their own servers will be sort of an improvement over like how Rust has done it. Because with Rust, there's like thousands of servers, and some of them are really empty, some of them are really full. So it's kind of, it's overwhelming when you're trying to pick a server to play on. There's tons of them.
Yeah. And they all have different rules and different moderation and different mods as well, right? They have different mod packs available.
Yeah, there's different mod packs, and it's just kind of hard to find a server with a lot of people on it. And for an MMO, I think it's probably best to have a smaller set of servers with specific rule sets for each one.
Yeah. And I guess the other nice thing is we don't have to pay for the servers. SOE is handling that. So it's not like you have to spend $10 a month or whatever to host a dedicated server and hope it doesn't go down. SOE's got massive infrastructure, and when their stuff goes down, San Diego feels it. So, it doesn't stay down for too long usually.
Yeah, plus you don't have to worry about servers going offline. Sometimes that's happened where people have hosted their own servers, you get on the server, you build up your character, and then they just take it offline.
Yeah.
And it's all of your progress.
Yeah, that sucks. That's I imagine the same sort of thing was an issue with games like Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2 and some of the mods for that, because people had basically their own MMO style servers going, but when they started to wane in popularity, I'm sure some of them would start to die off, and I don't know if you could import your characters between them or not. So yeah, I can definitely see that being another hazard of servers that aren't as well established in that way. Okay, so was there anything else you guys wanted to say on the point before we move on to the
just going in with the monetization, I'm hoping that they do have the SC store to buy the special character packs for your clothing, so you can create custom looks and not like every other Joe down the street with blood and gore all over you. So you can get your leather jackets or your riot gear and stuff like that, just to have the appearance of being unique instead of starting off with the jeans and the shirt.
It's a tough thing because aesthetics and functionality are going to be tied together. So they could sell us all different colors of logo printed shirts and pattern printed shirts, and someone could be going around with like a Hawaiian shirt on and some khakis or something, just look like they just got out of the beach or something, or just came back from the beach or some trip or something, and that could be the aesthetic them and their buddies go for, and that's completely entertaining, and it's definitely going to give them that uniqueness. But what they're not going to be able to do is all start looking like they're wearing costume riot gear, because then it starts to create this situation where you can see another player wearing riot gear, you think they've got badass equipment, you and your people go out of your way to kill them and they're grouped, all to find that, oh, no wonder they died so quickly, but still took a few of us down. They actually weren't wearing real armor, they were wearing this fake stuff. So that I could see creating potential issues. So I think they really are going to keep the aesthetics tied to the functionality.
I can see that, but like I say, like I would love to see the character in the Hawaiian shirt and
Yes.
shorts,
Oh
freshly
yeah.
off the plane. Like what the hell's happening?
Yeah.
Or the paramedic still in his bloody uniform from the hospital or something. Just give us the variety, so you're not looking like everybody else. So
Yeah. Because that is something I've noticed. Most TV shows, or a good portion of them, especially cartoons and animated things, the characters are wearing the same thing every episode. Every scene to scene, shot to shot, they're wearing the same stuff, and they don't really change out what they're wearing too frequently. So I'd imagine that's going to be the case in H1Z1 a lot of the time. You'll keep the aesthetic you like, and the rest of the stuff gets torn up for bandages.
hmm Yep, agree with you 100% there. I wasn't thinking about the riot gear being like, say, if you could buy an outfit. But yeah, somebody dressed in riot gear should have the riot gear, not somebody with the appearance of it.
Yeah. Though I wonder what kind of stuff people are going to be able to do to make something that looks more intimidating, because sometimes just the appearance is all you need. It needs to look enough like an assault rifle. Really, it's just a few metal pipes you found and put a metal box around in a couple of places constructively, and it kind of looks like a gun and kind of looks like it could shoot a bullet, but when you get close enough, you see it really isn't. It really wouldn't. So I could see that sort of fun stuff being done, just to try to have something to take a chance and maybe try to trick players, or something the size of a hand grenade, and you just throw put a stick in it or something, and make it look like a hand grenade. You got like a lime or a tennis ball or something.
Flaming tennis balls.
Oh, flaming tennis balls! Hell yeah. Okay, let's move it along here. Monetization. Now they've talked about what weapons are already in the game. That's the M1911, which had its 100-year anniversary a few years ago. It was made in 1911. The AR-15, which the M16 originally was going to fill the role of, but they decided on AR-15 for whatever reason. Allegedly, there are still M16s in the world, or they're super, super rare. Either that, or Jimmy misspoke himself, and he meant to say AR-15s. I think they'll still have variations. Like, every now and then, you'll find a different version. So instead of everybody having just the one type of rifle, every now and then you might find a slightly better version of the same class of weapon. So maybe you'll find an AK-47 at some point. I don't know. They'd be very rare in the world, or however that would work. But we're definitely not going to be just fabricating a bunch of guns. That's pretty much out of the question, unless it's, once again, a server rule set. What they want to have before early access is a 12-gauge shotgun, a hunting rifle, and a crossbow. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That covers the ranges of weapons pretty well. Bow and a crossbow are going to have different functionality. You're not using arrows on a crossbow, you're using bolts. We design a little different. Hunting rifle, I can see the point of that. It's more of a long rifle, where the AR-15's more, it is an assault rifle. So you would probably have really good optics on that. Military still uses M16, AR-15 is the step-down civvy version. That's right. And the ones we have right now are, I believe, single fire only. There might be mod kits to have the be able to make them full auto, or there might be full auto ones out there. But the one I used was single fire only, and I'm pretty sure that's the standard. Thank you. So one of the things, before we move on, was there anything on weapons that you guys wanted to say about?
Just from what I've seen, I mean, they've talked about how rare they're going to be. I think a couple of those recent shows, finding the ammo was sort of a high point. They didn't have the gun, but they had tons of ammo, or they had very little ammo and a good gun. So if you can find the pistols, or if you can find the rifle, make sure you hang on to it, because eventually you're going to be able to trade to someone or find the ammo for what you're carrying, hopefully.
Or apparently, if you can locate Jimmy Wisenhunt in the world, kill him, because he said he finds all the ammo in the world but no guns to shoot him with. So apparently he's just a running source of ammo. So if you find him, do what you need to secure that ammo.
Did they also say that you would find weapons and they may be broken and you would have to repair them? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So Nether does a similar thing, and that's pretty cool too, because you have to go find pieces and assemble the weapons.
Yeah.
So they've said that you can't craft the weapons from scratch, though. Do you know if you can craft the crossbow, or is that something you have to find?
I would imagine we would be able to, with maybe not with just our bare hands, but some amount of limited tools. Their crossbows aren't necessarily that difficult to make. There's a lot of people I know that said, "Oh yeah, I made crossbows in shop class," and I can't remember who it was I was talking to in particular that was actually saying, "Yeah, they had to take it away from us after we kept shooting the bolts into the walls." So, yeah, that sort of stuff. I mean, all sorts of simple stuff. Even a slingshot or just a sling I could see being used. JWG911, actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/legendary neurotoxin, you can find all the gameplay footage that I've got from E3. That's all I've got right now. If you want to find the footage from JP McDaniel's, you can find itmeJP is his screen name, itmeJP. You can find his broadcasts on Twitch. You can find them on YouTube, and I definitely recommend checking it out. Maybe when you finish watching the show, or not, but definitely check it out. Good stuff. He has a lot of good questions to ask, and pretty proficient player, even though it seemed like he kept getting killed on sight a lot by SOE staff. Yeah, and that was something that they had talked about as well. They honestly don't know what's going to happen in the game, what it's going to be like when players start getting in. If there's going to be zergling hordes of bandits like Goon Swarm, are they going to come in and just take over a server, and then once everything's been wrecked there, move on to the next server and just crush everything like Locust? I could see groups doing that. Just pick any large community that likes to troll things, and a free game, they'll all install it, and everyone with the 64-bit client will actually be able to get in, and then chaos ensues for a moment, and then they get bored.
Now, as you just said, 64-bit. I just slipped my mind. This is going to be another 64-bit only game like Landmark, and I guess
Sony Online Entertainment only makes 64-bit games now.
Yep. Yeah. Just so people are aware that it's no more 32-bit. Everything was 64, so you're going to have to make sure your system is a 64-bit in order to play it. A lot of people with Landmark were thrown for a loop. They really didn't know that, they bought the game off of Steam or something else, and it didn't say 64 bits required and so on.
Well, it says in the system requirements, but who actually looks at that stuff?
Yeah.
It's more the let me install it and then I'll see. Yeah. Oh, realistic recoil. That was a big point that Jimmy was making. It's not going to be like in other games where it's basically the cone of fire is an RNG sort of thing. It might go left, it might go right, it might go up, it might go down. Instead, it's going to be very predictable recoil, and I'm hoping it's something that as the weapon's durability starts wearing down, the predictability also starts, or the pattern it's going starts changing. Maybe it's got more kick, or it goes a little bit more to the side, or the bullets themselves even are going slightly off center to the left a little bit. That's the sort of stuff I could see them doing with the stuff as it starts wearing down and needs to get maintained. But I think that's going to be great, because that means you find a weapon, you get good with it. No matter where you are in the world, if you've got that weapon, you're good with it.
Yeah, or even the weapon jams if it's its low durability. But yeah, I really like that. That's sort of like I could see the Counter-Strike influence there, and I haven't seen that in many games recently.
The one thing, like you're saying, if your weapon jams, if I have the rifle and the rifle jams, I'd like to be able to have it and use it as a club, or have the bayonet use. So if I put a bayonet on the end of it or something eventually, um, is the rifle going to be able to be used as a club if if you desire to, because you don't have ammo?
It's been discussed, and I really hope they make it an option. It would really make sense because it's a risk reward sort of thing. Yes, you're able to club this thing in this situation, but you're also potentially compromising the durability of your weapon. You might damage it or break it in the process of doing this. A bayonet would, of course, reduce that liability and probably be a little bit easier to handle because it's a lot easier to poke something going forward with something that's already designed to be aiming forward than to kind of flatten it sideways and push them with both hands, or turn it all the way around to hit them in the face with the butt. So I can definitely see the bayonet being the preferred sort of thing, or and then that also opens up the question: should we just have an attachable bayonet and that's it, or should we have those fancy combat knives that have the ring that you can use it as a bayonet? So it's a knife when you don't need it as a bayonet, and it's a bayonet when you need it as one.
Well, I guess that would be part of the crafting system if you happen to find the knife that fits.
Yeah.
The glass slipper, so to say.
Exactly. But I mean, it's kind of a modular system, so if it's a knife that's designed for it, I'm pretty sure it'll thread on or fit on just fine. If only we had someone that really knew guns about all of that stuff. Where's Tenmo when you need him? All right. So we should really, throughout early access, expect huge balancing fluctuation. And this is going to be for the biggest reason is that we don't know what the game's going to be like when we actually have all these players up in here. When we actually have the players in the world doing the things, building things, trying to set things up, trying to tear each other down. And we'll be able to see very quickly the scope and scale of what the game is and what it can be, but also what it's going to be like to try to survive in that world, and what kind of changes are going to be needed to make it more livable or less livable, or if it's too easy. And that's going to be probably a lot of what's going on early on. I doubt there's going to be too many server rule set variations early on, just because they're going to want to narrow down the core gameplay first before they start branching out into the weird stuff.
Now, did they? They didn't say players' names are not going to be visible above their heads or anything like that with guild tags and stuff, are they?
I don't know about guild tags, but if you're close enough, you can see their name.
Can you see their name?
Okay. You've got to be close.
Yeah, because in the footage and the gameplay I've seen, when they've gotten close, I never saw anything on any of the footage so far. I didn't know if that was going to be there or not, or if everybody's going to be distinct enough by their appearance that you'll know who they are.
Yeah, and that's the level of customization, and also that's something I brought up a lot in the past, the level of familiarity. Maybe the more you've played with somebody, that specific character and your specific character, the farther away you can see their name because you've gained more familiarity. The game itself bridging the gap that you would have in reality, being able to identify someone you know from further away.
That'd be nice. That'd be really nice.
What you drinking there, by the way, Neo? I kept seeing the bottle come up.
Harpoon.
Oh, nice. Is that IPA?
Hefeweizen.
Oh, it's a Hefeweizen. Oh, okay. What was theirs that I'm thinking of that's an IPA? Oh well, subject for another.
Yeah, they have a Harpoon. Harpoon IPA is their like their main beer.
Yeah. Oh, and that's actually something that I've been thinking about, the idea of, you find a brewery, all that beer's still good. It might not, all taste pristine at the time you get it, but you can still drink it. It's still going to add nutrition. We don't know how much dehydration is going to actually affect people. And of course, alcohol consumption. They can do it. They've had getting drunk ever since EverQuest 1, so it's not out of the realm of SOE games to do something like that. And we've talked about in the past on previous episodes the idea of various altered states to different substances. So that's something I was kind of thinking about a little bit with beer. It is potable water, but if you drink enough of it without having regular water or something else to help fortify you, you're probably not going to be having a good day after a little while.
And I'm wondering if the region that you're in, if you'll come across a backyard still or something out in the woods, where you might be able to use some of that moonshine to help fuel a vehicle, or take over the still to help make some of the fuel you can find.
Yeah.
I think they discussed something like that with biodiesel, and
Yep.
I think they announced one of the first crops that you could grow was wheat.
Yeah, wheat and corn, you're going to be able to go from seed to ethanol. So that's pretty cool. That's for a survival game, I feel like that's one of those holy grails, is to give people enough reason and enough mechanisms to set up infrastructure and actually set up a permanent renewable food source where they don't have to go outside their walls to survive. That seems like you've won at that point, when you've got your own farm and you've got all the defenses you need, and nobody can come in and screw with you at all, and you're just you're set at that point, you and your civilization, because it's not a one-person operation to get all of that, not by any means.
Yeah, and then all you have to really worry about is either the roving bands of bandits that's going to overtake you, or the fences that are keeping out the hordes. How much noise are you making while you're farming? How much attention are you drawing to yourself while you're running a generator for irrigation and stuff like that?
Yeah. Irrigation now with the rain, I don't know how frequently it's going to be coming. If we're going to have dry spells and the ground and everything actually drying up to the point where until it rains, things are going to be really crackly and dry, and just going anywhere is going to make more noise than it usually does. That would be a really interesting. Or the inside mutiny. Yeah.
Well, didn't they already display one of the rain traps? It's one of the things they could craft. Put down a rain trap to get some water.
Yep. And you just come back to it, and all the bottles you put in are filled when it's rained. So that's pretty cool. It's a really nice thing because it's like a tarp and some sticks or whatever to construct it, so it's pretty simple to get it up and running. Biggest downside of a farm is you can't easily relocate. Yeah, that's true. That's why it's one of those things you'd really need to have your defenses set to actually be able to do a farm. And go ahead.
I was going to say there was a show on, I think it was Sci-Fi Channel a couple years back, or was it one of the other channels called Colony, I think it was, where they took these people and put them in an abandoned district and sort of set them up where they had to survive off the resources they could scavenge. I forget the name of the TV show. I think it was called The Colony.
Was it like a reality show?
Yeah, it was either on
neat.
Sci-Fi or Discovery or one of those channels. But they had the bandits coming by, looking for fuel, looking for food and all that stuff, and they had to defend themselves and set the booby traps and barricade themselves in at nighttime and so on. But you can also imagine that same scenario with the zombies right on the other side of the wall, bandits to your left, zombies on your right, saying, you're stuck between that perpetual rock and hard place. Do you leave where you're safe? Do you leave where your food source is coming from? To try to find something better. Maybe Cody knows. You remember what was it called? Was it called The Colony, Cody? It was. It would be perfect for an H1Z1 type of show.
So, explosives we already talked about, and they said yes, explosives are definitely going to be in the game. They talked about the meat grenades and that sort of stuff. So that'll be interesting. But that brought me back to something that I talked about way a while ago. Audio impact, having your ears ringing when you're firing things indoors, or something metal hits something else metal indoors, and it's going to make a really loud sound. Explosions nearby, I mean, it's going to make your ears ring. It might even give you a concussion. That's the sort of thing that I'm wondering what we're going to see with either rule sets or just general gameplay, how much the large spikes in audio are actually going to affect the characters, if they're going to have their ears ringing or not. Thanks, Wick. What do you guys think about that? Is that something that should be a consideration, that if you've got a firearm, you also need to have earmuffs if you're firing it indoors?
I think it's just like any other weapon. You should be having some kind of penalty if you're not. What if you find flashbangs and you want to use them against another player in PvP? So yes, you should suffer from the effects. Whether you got earplugs or not, you're gonna hear the noise. You're gonna see the flash. It's gonna be in your face. It's gonna blind you. It's gonna deafen you. Yeah. So definitely yes, I want to see that in the game. Whether it's a 3-second penalty, 5-second, depending on the size of the explosion, the sound of the cannon,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they should have stuff like that in the game. It sort of does deter you from just run and gun, and you really have to think about, like, well, should I fire at this person now? I'm going to give away my position, or I'm inside. I'm going to hear some ringing if I do this right here. So you're always having to think about where you are and what situation you're in, and whether the risk of firing your weapon is worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And that is also a good consideration. Stay silent, use a knife, use close combat, or fire the gun, make your ears ring, lowering your awareness as well as the everything else nearby hearing it. And I wonder if there's going to be a low res kind of bullet crack you're going to be able to hear in the distance, that if you're a certain distance away, you're not going to hear all the fidelity of the bullet sound, but you are going to hear that someone fired a bullet somewhere from some direction, and if they fire enough of them, you kind of turn your head enough, you can triangulate where it's coming from.
If they fire that many shots.
Yeah.
That much ammo. Definitely I would like to hear the crack of a bullet or a sound of a shotgun in the distance. Basically so I know to go the other way. But it's like a bolt of lightning, or if you're if you're chopping the tree, you're gonna have that thump 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 noise.
Yep.
You're gonna attract zombies if someone else is in the hearing distance. You're gonna watch out. So I love the way that they're doing it, by reducing your body heat by crouching. The lower you down, the less heat you reflect. So if you're running, you're going to be making more noise, I think, than carefully walking. So if you're trying to sneak, I'm hoping they have that sneak slow motion button, so you can almost crawl up behind somebody. If you want to be, what was that, Splinter Cell, I think, that had sneak in it. So you can get up behind somebody and take them out.
Yeah.
It would be nice to do that, and hopefully avoid the zombies. As they say, the louder you're being, the more you're going to attract. So. Metal Gear Solid, that's what I was thinking. One of the first ones,
yes.
that sneak around and use cover and crawl and all that stuff. So
yeah,
but we already know we're getting prone, right? Prone they didn't want to show, but we saw it a couple weeks back. So if they have crawl, if they have crouch, I'd like to see those moves in there eventually.
Yeah, honestly, I'd love to see all sorts of body positions and stuff. I've got this book that basically details all sorts of different techniques and positions that can be used to give yourself better effectiveness and better cover in all sorts of firearm and combat situations. So some of them are really, really specific, like one where you're laying on your back with a curb next to you that you're basically using as cover, and you're just kind of leaning up over the curb looking through the site with, kind of half-assedly and just being able to aim it that way. It seems like a really interesting way to do it, but you are using pretty much the concrete of the ground as cover, and it's about the best cover you're going to have if you're out in an open street in a firefight. So, yeah, that's the sort of stuff. Definitely having just prone beyond standing and crouching. Now, I also think prone should probably make more noise and more of a heat detection than crouching and moving, because your surface area of your body is spread across the ground, and any little twigs you might be touching, you might be breaking those, any bits of rock that you're dislodging, etc. I feel like it, and of course the fact that you're having to move your entire body in a completely different way than if you're still mostly just walking on your feet and maybe using your hands every now and then. Just keeping yourself low to the ground. 3 firing positions you have to qualify for in Marines are prone, standing, and sitting. Well, that makes sense. Those are the standards. What's the point of building a base when random spawns when you die? What about when you log off? We still don't know about what happens when you log off. At this point, I don't know if the developers have ever lived long enough that they logged off with an actual structure, so I just don't know at this point. What do you guys feel about it?
If you don't get back to it, probably either someone in your group or your party or league or whatever affiliation we're going to have for groups. If no one's there, probably within 45 minutes, I'm hoping it will disappear and let somebody else come by within and salvage it or something. If you can't get back to it, God bless the next person that can. So.
Yeah, I know. In Rust, it's kind of humorous because when you log out, you just kind of collapse on the ground, and you're just an unconscious body that someone can come and they can kill you and loot you. So I don't know. That's like one of the. That's one of the Rust server rule sets is sleepers or no sleepers, so you can disable that on some servers where when you log out, you just disappear and you're not vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're already losing everything that you've gathered when you die. You are starting over, as Cody says, you only live once. So, reset your timer, and there you go. Off to the next adventure.
Watching a podcast yesterday, H1Z1 popped in the chat and said, after you die, spawns are random. That's... I mean, when you die, yeah, you're going to spawn somewhere along the southern or eastern edge of the map. Those are more of the startery areas. You're not necessarily going to know where in those areas you're actually going to start. The more you play the game, the better you're going to be able to spot specific landmarks and be able to use those to find your way. So earlier on, everybody's going to be having a tough time early on. I'm expecting that. I anticipate that. Not worried about it. It's when people start getting a little bit more experience, you've died enough times to know how to find your way to specific locations when you start up again. And when you take into account the size of the game, Jimmy said in the stream their goal, their dream would be having the game world the size of the United States. That's so big. In moving on foot, moving by vehicle, hours and hours and hours and hours just to get back to your base. Okay, I could see that being kind of a weird thing, but at the same time, if you've actually built up civilization and infrastructure out that far, it's just a matter of getting on with the next convoy that's going out that way and then meeting up with your buddies at some point. It seems like when we've actually expanded that far, cars and guns and that sort of stuff are going to be a little bit easier to find than they're going to be in the initial phases. But we don't know how far it's going to, or how long it's going to get before the game gets, even close to using the entire 16,000 square kilometers that the game can use. That itself is gigantic.
Oh, yeah. You're probably never going to be able to expand or see the whole map unless you are one of those roving raids of people that just, going to conquer everybody and everything. 40 or 50 people working together. My goal is to try to survive, go to the edges, get to that northwest corner, and once I get there, I'll be happy. Then I can say I won. But they should have a flag there, or a T-shirt. I survived and found the Northwest Passage or something to get the character to wear when they respawn.
Yeah.
Of course, you're gonna tear it up to make a bow first thing, but hey.
Yes, Wick, if they could, they would want to have the entire United States, which means, yes, they would have to build the entire United States in that terrain editing tool. I don't think it was actually going to be that big. It's going to be big, but the other thing is I don't know how much it's actually going to take. I mean, they've looked at real maps and stuff in real areas, and they've kind of based it on a little bit, but I don't know how close it actually is to the terrain of those actual areas and the actual freeways and highways that they're going to be referencing and having in the game. Like, if you actually go in those areas and you live in those areas, obviously you're not going to find a Flavorly's hard-boiled ham hocks out there because it doesn't exist. You might find the company of which the logo was kind of parodied from.
Now, how about the breadcrumb system? I mean, are you going to be able to leave, like, say, if you have a can of spray paint, can you paint "I was here" or 2 miles to Sanctuary on the side of a building? Down the road, are we going to be able to tag certain things for memory, or is it all going to be purely visual?
I imagine if there was a real zombie apocalypse that really happened and there were really just like a handful of survivors left, there would be that one out there who finds every sign and spray paints a big old penis over it. So I think that's one of the reasons why they might be a little bit hesitant to have that kind of spray paint system. It sounds like something they would want to have, but at the same time, there's so many opportunities for abuse that I could see it being something that they would have to limit in some way or another. Otherwise,
yeah, basically it'd be like an arrow. Like they have decals for damage and stuff in PlanetSide 2. There have been talk about decals coming into Landmark for certain structures to maybe reflect damage or something like that, cracks and seams.
Yeah,
I could see decals being used, that are Sony issued with arrows and help this way or something where you slap up, or little markers, that you can follow down the road, just like a breadcrumb, so you and your friends can get back together eventually.
Yeah, but it also, once again, it would have to have some sort of limitations, because you give something to somebody and let them, use enough of them in enough of an area, and it's basically pixels, and they're just gonna draw a penis out of arrows, and it's gonna happen. But
as rare as bullets, you never know.
That's true. Yeah, paint and ink should be that'd be interesting. And that's once again going back to that point about the fluctuation throughout early access. They might have spray paint as a feature and then take it away because it's been abused too much or it's got too many issues. There's just so much potential for what they could do and then pull out through the course of it. I mean, hell, PlanetSide 2, the galaxy used to be where you spawned your people. You'd fly this drop ship in, you deploy it, and that became your spawn point. Also, it was reinforced when it was in a deployed state. Now, I thought it was awesome, and I figured it'd be something they would bring back in some form or another. But no, the players, we decided that we wanted it on the bus instead of the airplane, and that mechanic has completely been removed from the game, and at this point, we don't know if it's ever going to come back.
Okay.
So they can definitely put things in that, can be changed and don't be a part of the game by the time it actually goes live, or by the time they're done with the heavy fluctuation and they're starting to narrow in on what they really want the game to be. Yeah. All right.
What's next on the plate?
On the plate next here. Oh, zombies have mass. That's a big idea, big point. So, a lot of games, creatures, maybe they act as something that causes collision. Maybe they don't. Maybe it actually has mass to it, or maybe it's just something that if these 2 points are too close to each other, one can't pass through the other. These zombies are actually going to have mass to them. If you try running a horde of them over and start turning really hard into it, you could easily flip your vehicle, kind of using them as a ramp and turn it over. There's definitely going to be a critical mass of zombies that you're not going to be able to just drive through, because each one is going to slow you down a little bit until you don't have enough thrust to get through them all. And I'm pretty sure they're going to have lumpy, they'll be lumpy on the road there too. There'll be speed bumps. I don't know how long dead zombies are going to persist in the world in that way, but it makes sense to me that they should be, in both living and dead states, well, undead and dead states, or however you want to classify them, that they're something that's in the world that you have to deal with one way or another, even to the point where maybe if you've got enough zombies, you can actually, and before they degrade or whatever would happen, use them to bar a doorway. Just throw a pile of zombie corpses there and, use that to keep people from getting through.
I kind of wonder if they're gonna have like morbidly obese zombies or like anything like that.
Well, what do they got? 3 zombie types, or Bob and Fred right now? I think they were just introducing a third one.
Yeah, there was the walker, the runner, and then I think another one. But they want to have all sorts of them. They want to have crawlers. I think they want to maybe even have some that burrow, or maybe some that climb. They said they definitely want us looking at different eye levels. Maybe not. Maybe more children could be zombies. For the smaller size targets.
They haven't come up with talking about just zombies and the size and the scales of the zombies, and you're talking about the mass of them, the ragdoll physics. I could see that if I could take a zombie and if I'm on a roof and want to push him down, his body should at least damage the ones that he falls on.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
From the mass. If I have barrels and crates on a roof and I push him to drop off the edge, hopefully it will smash a couple heads of zombies. So yeah, I hope that everything in the game would have a mass or have a physic attached to it.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a flaming Molotov bottle that hits and explodes, same thing with a barrel or a bucket. If I take and smash someone in the head or throw it at them, it's going to do a little bit of damage. Just like
You've just made me think of one of the most hilarious possible situations. You throw the Molotov cocktail, it hits a fleshy part of the zombie, and then falls safely to the ground. Doesn't break, so you've just got this bottle of burning hooch on the ground. It's like, wow, that just didn't do anything for anybody. Then you gotta try to hit it with a rock with a slingshot or something to actually break it.
Or shoot it with an arrow to break the bottle.
Yeah, something. That I definitely want to see that interaction. That just very low chance. Nope, bottle didn't break. No, it didn't break when it hit the ground either. Oh well.
I think they were saying during one of the live streams that if you do run your vehicle into zombies, the vehicle does take a little bit of damage.
It does. It does.
Plow through a whole bunch of.
And I wonder if they'll actually have differential. They have hitboxes on the vehicles, so they can definitely do stuff with that. But how much they're going to do, like if you hit things more with the front, will the engine and the steering get messed up, versus if you're just backing over everything, it seems like that would give a lot more durability. The back of the vehicle is going to get a lot more dinged up, but that's fine. That's not where the engine's at, and you've got a little bit of distance from the bumper to the rear axle, so you can run over a fair amount of stuff going in reverse, way more than you could do going forward, and be able to do a lot of damage that way. And then, of course, if you've backed over too much stuff and you're in trouble, you can drive forward because you didn't fuck up the front of the vehicle.
But could you? I mean, there's been a lot of zombie movies and even stuff on Walking Dead and everything where they've had the vehicles plowing through the zombies, in the parking lots and on the roads and stuff, and they get stuck on the bodies. They
I could
lose
see
the
that.
traction.
I could see that. Yeah.
In the one episode of The Walking Dead, they're backing away, trying to get away from the big horde, and running them over, and back wheels are going up and up and up on the bodies till they lose traction. So I'm hoping they have similar physics in the game.
Yeah.
To say, okay, now my wheels are off the ground, I'm screwed, I can't move.
Yeah.
I'm safe in here, but for how long? I'm going to starve to death.
Right.
Get out and run time.
Or get on top and fight off anything that you can with whatever weapons you've got. Untamed, most likely the northwest corner.
As you say, get up on top. Climbing physics. Are we going to be able to climb up ladders, climb up crates, climb up on top of cars?
Right now, it's just whatever you can jump or crouch jump onto. I'm hoping that they'll actually add some sort of real deal. In fact, this is for all of their Forge Light games. I really want to see ladder mechanics.
Yes.
I want to see it in PlanetSide. I want to see it in Landmark. I want to see it in EverQuest Next, and I want to see it in H1Z1.
Well, we just got elevators in Landmark, in case you don't know. You see the water elevators we have now?
Oh, but that's different. You got to swim up those.
It's still climbing or up and down type of motion, so it works.
That's true. That's true. But no, I think actually having that real deal climbing and being able to do, because that actually opens up the door for a lot of other possibilities. Like someone was saying, when they're running in a field or whatever, and there's a low wall in front of them, they don't want to have to do this weird technical thing to get over it. They just want to keep going forward and have the character just naturally vault over it. And I think of I don't know if anybody's played this one. It's a really good game for Wii. The Last Story actually has that as a built-in mechanic. When you get close to a low wall, you just press a button, your character acrobatically flips over it, and you just keep on going. So I'd really like to have that sort of thing. Untamed will probably have GPS trackers available, but actually having one that works is probably going to be very limited, and then actually being able to use it, I don't know how much connectivity we'll have to satellites and internet and that sort of infrastructure. So I don't know how much we'll be able to use a GPS unless we can find our location in the world relative to where the GPS can locate, and then have it kind of extrapolate from there and hope the accelerometer isn't broken. What do you guys think about that? The idea of an actual GPS unit for players?
Batteries?
Yeah, okay. I mean, batteries are going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I need batteries. How much power will it have? And how accurate is it?
Yeah.
One thing that makes me wonder is whether or not they'll give us a map of the world initially, or if they'll sort of like have the players have to go and explore and kind of figure out what their surroundings are and see, like, have players make their own maps.
Yeah, and a couple of weeks ago, that was actually kind of a discussion point. I put up the discussion on Reddit about it, following up from the live stream. I think it was a Greg and Clegg live stream where they were talking about it. But the idea that you could either maybe start with a map, or you have to draw the map, or you maybe start with a very limited map that you can kind of see just the vague features of what's in the area, but beyond that you don't have any specificity. Then other things, can you write on your map? Can other people loot your map after you die and then see what you've written on there? Can you share designs and map indicators that you've made with other people? So there's a lot of consideration. There was a lot of discussion going on with that. I think the discussion is mostly slowed down at this point. So now that the dust has settled, it'll probably be about time to look through it and kind of determine results from it, from what the community kind of said. But that's definitely one of those things that could easily be a server rule set sort of thing for the functionality of maps and the extent of maps and what you get and how they work. Because I could say there being we use the term hardcore so much that I'm going to use the phrase easy core. servers where it actually does, you press M, it brings up a map, and you see exactly where you are in the world. That could be a server rule set for people that maybe they aren't as good with spatial awareness and that sort of stuff.
I think as long as the sun comes up in the east and sets in the west, you should be able to navigate a little bit just by shadows on the ground.
Yeah.
North to south. If they give a map, I hope they give it the fog of war type of thing, where you actually have to explore the area or be within a certain area to actually uncover that part of the map. I could see finding a gas station road map for the state that you're in. Okay, well, here's a road map, but now where the hell am I? The map doesn't do any good unless you know exactly where you are on that map. So.
Yeah. And that could actually be a really fun thing they add, is some franchise that's throughout the game where you can find one of their map, you can find the map in one of their stores, and then use that map to locate the all the other stores of that brand throughout the world. So it's like, okay, well, this gas station is empty, but we know 3 miles up the road there's another one of the same place. So you just pack your stuff and start going. I could definitely see that being a great feature. Neo, you're gonna say something there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, even with the player-generated structures, the map, like the actual world, will be changing so frequently. I think that it would be good to have to like keep track of what your surroundings are, and then like maybe you'll wander into some territory that was once friendly, but now some people have set up fortifications there. So you have to be aware of, like, oh, don't go there. There's a really heavily fortified base, and they have lots of vehicles and weapons there.
Or even like the Hour to Hour, there was just a big battle there, and there's a bunch of zombies that are still attracting towards that heat map.
Well, even with death, I mean, if you got a large group of people running around, they die. Mm-hmm. I would like to see their bodies be reanimated and join the zombie population.
Oh, they will.
Just to have that mechanic in the game. If you have 20 people die in this area, someone comes by later, those 20 people are now zombies that you're going to be encountering.
If they got chewed on by the zombies, and I think that's something they're still determining, whether or not after the corpse gets chewed on by the zombies, whether it becomes a zombie itself, or just all the loot on that corpse gets distributed onto the zombies. But that's how they said that zombies actually will have loot, is when a body decomposes and the loot on it becomes inaccessible, it's just distributed to the other zombies in the area. So that's pretty neat.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those funny things where in the very early, especially early in the game, you're going to be able to find a lot of zombies with just a shirt, or just a shirt and a hatchet. I think you start with a flashlight now instead of a torch because things were being lit on fire too much. Jokingly, I say, well, I hope it's a solar-powered flashlight so that way we don't have to worry about batteries. That joke from, yeah.
I hope it's a mag light to use as a club.
Yeah, a mag light is really, I think, what everybody would prefer, because they are good for clubs. Just don't hit with the very tip of it, otherwise you can knock the battery thing, the cap off the end. Don't ask me why I know that. Untamed, all you need is a Kevlar vest and a machete. Good luck. Good luck to you, my friend. I would love to just give you a Kevlar vest and a machete somewhere in the starter zone and then just watch how things go in the world, because I don't think it's going to be that easy.
Now, I'm hoping to have, well, they say you're starting off with a flashlight or an axe and stuff. I guess my preferred weapon will be a machete or a big knife like that that you can wield. I think an axe would be a little unwieldy, but you're going to need one for chopping down trees. So what's going to be easier killing the zombies? Machetes, axes, long big knives?
I would imagine a machete. It's got the weight of it, the speed of it, the surface area of the blade itself, The fact that it's a thinner blade, so it's not going to get kind of stopped up in the meat the same way. And once again, the weighting of it, you're able to hack into something pretty well. As close as possible, or pretty. I guess if they're right up on you, hugging you, neither an axe nor a machete is really going to help. But then you're just pressing Q to push them away. And at that point, they would probably be at perfect range to get hit with the nice heavy curved part of the machete for maximum damage. Have they said if all players already affected by H1Z1? No, they actually haven't. They've actually been very vague about what it is and ambiguous about who's affected by what. From the radio broadcast, I was under the impression that everybody who isn't infected are the people who the Karama Pharmaceuticals drugs actually worked on. And oh yeah, drugs were being distributed to everybody without their knowledge. So getting into that like conspiracy theory, communist proliferation sort of thing going on, where it's the drugs were being put in the water as a test, and what happened in the region is maybe some people got infected and the drugs worked, or that the drugs were given to everybody in the region and like through the water supply, and then the infection was spread out in that area, and it was a test to see whether it would be enough, the drugs would actually stave off the infection or not. Because what they had said in the radio broadcast is that nobody gets sick anymore. Nobody has illness anymore. So that's something about the Karama drugs having some interaction with the players to some extent, but the extent of which we just don't know. Yeah.
All right, but like you were saying with the drugs, and to me it has that Raccoon City feeling, with an umbrella corporation. A couple things got out and broke out and started it. Is there really a cure? Are there just people not affected by it? Is there something in the air? Are they going to be other ways that you can get infected, become sick? If a zombie bites you, is it going to turn you?
They've talked about it
before you turn into a zombie.
They've talked about having some sort of an infection system, yeah. So maybe it is something where if you get harmed by a zombie or something that's infected, like an arrow that's been shot through a zombie at some point, then yeah, it's going to start the infection process, and if you don't take the right measures, it's going to turn you into a zombie. That, once again, could be a server rule set thing, because I'm sure a lot of people really like that idea, but I know a lot of people absolutely hate the idea and feel like it should be more like The Walking Dead, where everybody's not a zombie till you die, and then you're automatically a zombie.
I think
even in Walking Dead, people did get bit and turned into zombies.
That's true.
So, the zombies killed them, but they were bit, and some of them, got sick, turned into zombies.
Yeah.
But did they die from the virus, or die from, the virus killing them, and then they reanimated?
Yeah, I don't know. Neo, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think it would be interesting if you could get infected or have like some form of disease or even venom, because it adds like another element to the crafting where you have to craft like medications or antidotes for different poisons and stuff.
Xbox, not likely. Sony Online Entertainment, I'm pretty sure it would be PC and PlayStation 4. I don't know if they'd actually be willing to put any... I don't think they're actually going to do the Forge Light for Xbox ever, so I feel like the answer is no. Hey, Fluffy, how's it going? In Walking Dead, everyone already has the infection. When he got bit, died from infection. Chop the limb off to save the person. Okay. I don't know how much dismemberment, optional or otherwise, they're actually going to have. It's definitely going to be a thing for zombies. You are going to be able to like cut things off of them potentially, but we don't know if it's actually going to be possible with players, especially because that really affects how it's going to be able to localize and be available around the world. Australia, you can't be dismembering humans, and I think China and Germany both have like moratoriums against decapitation, some amount of blood and stuff like that. So there's definitely reasons why they would limit how much, even if it's for surgical reasons, why somebody would be able to remove a limb from somebody else that's another player. Yeah, you can pick up the arrows. That's correct. No, I don't think we can eat the zombies. Probably a bad idea. Probably a bad idea. So they actually talked about having like a party indicator system, like the idea of MacGyvering together some sort of thing that like monitors your vitals, and then all the other players that you're grouped with, you have some device that shows what their vitals are or something. So that seems a little like I said, MacGyver, or like, I don't know, super science for what the survivors are going to have available to them. Can you eat other players you killed? They haven't talked about cannibal. They've talked about cannibalism. What they said is they don't know. I think that's the verdict right now. Is they're still deciding. Once again, could be a server rule set, because players, that could be a really easy source of food, and if there's, you're not going to have to worry about the weird things that happen when you eat humans, then especially over a long period of time. Yes, Untamed, I am going to be at the block party. But as a food source, humans, I mean, there's only so much, like, I think there's like a limit to the amount of human flesh you can eat before you start just getting sick in general. They have women and children zombies. We don't have females one way or another right now. Not because we aren't, just because they haven't made the models for them yet. It's coming. Children, we don't know. That one is still... It's one of those things where they could have children, even maybe players potentially being able to choose a child rather than an adult. I don't know if they're actually going to do that. It could just be, okay, when the infection started, children's immune systems weren't strong enough and they all automatically died. No children.
Children zombies? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there are, I guess there are children, because there was the Survivor Radio, what's her name, who was being called Mama, was basically the kind of the nanny and babysitter and all that, taking care of the children in the colony there. So there could definitely be children, but I don't know if they're going to be, even playable, or maybe that would be the kind of non-zombie NPC that we have, is non-zombie, non-animals, the children out in the world, and that could be really interesting. Feel more safe with children zombies. Baby zombies, cat zombies. Yeah, we don't know if animals are going to be able to get infected in the same way. It might be a pathogen that only affects humans. They've talked about it one way or another. They've said maybe we will, maybe we won't. We're not really sure yet. I would imagine there'd just be a bunch of zombie ravens everywhere, because they're eating carrion, and so if they're eating zombies just the same, and the infection would probably affect them. So, from what all you guys have seen, how much do you feel H1Z1 is a running simulator, and how much do you feel it really has enough stuff to interact with in the world that you're not just running from point A to point B, but you really have to have awareness the entire time, and you're doing stuff the entire time?
From the dev streams and the like the streamers that I've seen, it doesn't seem like too much of a running simulator to me. It's not quite like DayZ or even Rust. Um, it seems like you can find things fairly quickly and sort of craft things from the environment without having to wander too far. But there's a lot of stuff that you can progress towards. Plus, they do have
Yeah,
the vehicles.
Yeah.
it definitely doesn't seem like it's a running simulator. I mean, there's going to be housing areas. You're going to be wanting to explore the houses, and it seems like every house has dozens of things to search through, whether it's a nightstand, a kitchen cabinet, a refrigerator or whatever. Um, Running away from the zombies, yeah. Running for miles to go from place to place, looking for stuff, looking for people. No, I mean I've seen people doing DayZ, and they might run for a half hour before they encounter a zombie. I really doubt I'm going to be able to walk around for a half hour without encountering a zombie or another player. DayZ, I see streamers doing it. They're playing the game. Out of 3 hours of a stream, you've seen 3 players. That's not much of a population. H1Z1, I'll probably see one when I spawn, and I know I'm going to see one when I die. So,
Yep. Yep.
it's just going to be the population is going to be there to support the game, both with NPCs and human beings. The areas are going to be searching. I'm sure we're going to be looking for roots and berries, twigs and sticks, and scavenging the houses for steak knives and axes and saws and stuff like that. So take all those other games, wrap them up in a fancy wrapper, and say, okay, here you go. But now here's H1Z1. Try this one.
Yeah.
Running simulator. The other games are. I don't think H1Z1 is going to be that.
I honestly say it's quite the opposite. You can't just run from point A to point B. You're going to run out of your resources really, really quickly. Your food and your water are what power your stamina, and as those drain down and your stamina doesn't replenish as quickly, you're not going to be running anymore. You're just going to be walking, and then you're going to be dead because you're not going to be able to outrun the zombies that just chased you down. So the things that I see with it is honestly, to some extent, the division of daytime tasks versus nighttime tasks. During the day, there's a lot of stuff that you're going to want to do during the day, because trying to do those things during the night is going to be hell. Trying to collect berries just to stay alive, just to keep your food and water, above zero. Doing that during the day is going to be really easy. You can see bushes in the distance. You run up, you can even tell if it's the kind of berries you can eat, or if it's the kind of berries that are going to taste like burning. So, and I'm sure that's going to be something. There's going to be probably different types of foods and stuff. I don't think we're actually going to have the thing that Jimmy was talking about last week with different disadvantages like lactose intolerance and diabetes and stuff like that. That I think would be a little bit too far.
Yeah,
but
a bit over the top.
But definitely, the toxic berries is one thing they've talked about as a consideration that people have to deal with. So if you're, trying to find berries during the night just to keep yourself from dying, and you find some berries and you just munch on them instead of looking at them first, well, you might have just eaten something that's going to kill you. And then, you've just helped add to the zombies. So there's that. Of course, if you need more supplies, cut down trees along the way, or find stuff that other people have cut down or harvested and just left behind, being able to collect that and use it for things. I bet more than anything, H1Z1 is going to, for the first little bit, be an archery simulator. Because I bet the first thing anybody's going to do, find another player, kill them, use their shirt or whatever, scrap it for bandages, use that with the wooden stick to make a bow, then craft yourself some arrows, and all you had to do was kill one person, and look, now you're armed and you still have the pockets of your shirt and maybe a couple extra bandages.
Yeah, I can see that working.
The forest isn't like H1Z1. Oh my goodness. The forest is definitely an interesting game, and I have a lot of respect for a lot of what goes on with that. But that one honestly feels more like a naked cannibal dismemberment simulator more than anything. Or at least that's what Satellizer makes it look like. Whenever I watch him, he's just running around with a leg in his hand, killing people, and then he'll just beat them to death, or they'll beat their corpses on the ground. Their corpses break up into all sorts of different parts like a crash test dummy. It's hilarious. I would say the forest is almost I feel like they don't mean it to be as funny as it is, but it's so comedic. At least my experience is watching people play it. I haven't played it myself yet. I think I might have got it though during one of the recent sales. Have either of you played it?
No, I was looking at it, and some of the streamers' graphics weren't showing the true potential of it. I saw another guy streaming, and the thing looked gorgeous. He must have had everything on high res and all that. So I was really tempted to do it, but I didn't dip into it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna wait and see how development progresses and see if they make lots of like how much progress they make every month.
Oh, Forest is made in Unity. I could see that. And yeah, needs a lot of work. It does. I mean, I can see there's a lot of potential with it. I still don't know if you can even build roofs at all yet. I've seen a lot of outdoorsy structures, but not really a lot of, really covered kind of... I guess you can build like a little shack. The building is definitely going to be really interesting. The small scale stuff and the large scale stuff in H1Z1, what people are going to be able to do. We've already seen some of the smaller structures people are going to be able to put up. I don't know what we'll be able to do for the larger structures, or what we'll be able to do to... I feel like we see a lot of those tract homes that they're just kind of built based on kind of a pattern. And so the idea of players being able to design a way to take that type of house and modularly upgrade all of them the same way to make them more reinforced and more livable, definitely be something we could see down the road. Even if it's just taking a house that doesn't have a wall around it, building a wall around it. That already adds a lot of defense.
Well, even chain link fences, I mean, they should be salvageable from one property to bring to your property. If you're in a small neighborhood, grab the chain link fence and, be able to reinforce your stuff with it, or your compound. So I think, brick and mortar is one thing, but chain link fences are, you can grab them at anybody's backyard or something, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, now let's see.
Now, did they? I know they showed some of the crafting on some of the streams.
Yeah.
Did they show anything like craft a bear trap or anything like that? I know I had snares and basic, rabbits.
Bear traps are something that want us to be able to craft and loot and use in the world. They specifically did talk about bear traps. Yes.
Yeah, because those would be great for defense perimeters. You put a couple bear traps out there and someone's trying to break into your compound. Well, guess what, buddy? Your ankle's busted.
Yep. Well, I also wonder if you actually do trap a bear in a bear trap, and it's trapped outside your property, is it going to essentially just attack everything nearby it, or what's it going to do? Because it could potentially, you get a bear in a bear trap, and you use that as the way to defend against the incoming zombie horde that your buddy's bringing from half a mile away.
And will the bear attract more zombies by, moaning and groaning in pain?
Probably. Oh, yeah. That's going to be one of those challenges with traps, is that they will attract heat. So if it's something you're trying to capture and, kill for food, you've got to be ready. You've got to be able to get there before the zombies get there. Digging, I doubt it. We might be able, other than tamping down the ground, I don't know how much we're going to be able to excavate into the terrain. Unlike Landmark, the Forge Light engine normally doesn't really have ways to modify the terrain. So while Landmark is voxel based and EverQuest Next is going to be voxel based, so you are going to be able to dig up, and that's how you do most of your stuff. It's going to be a lot more like PlanetSide 2. You can shoot the biggest cannon at a wall 1,000 times, and all it's going to do is leave decals.
It'd be cool to see too if they have like animal domestication, whether you can like tame wolves or dogs and then have them hunt for you, or
Yeah, and that's been talked about a lot. I don't know what they're gonna do for that, and how taming things would work if it's just throw a piece of meat to it, once every few hours until it, comes around without asking for a piece of meat, and go from there. How it's gonna work, and that sort of stuff. The full animal training and husbandry and all of that stuff. That's the sort of stuff we could see as a server rule set. There could be some where, you've got people charging into combat riding on bears with an AK-47, the bear cavalry style, where other servers, if you see an animal, all it is an encounter. There's nothing you can do otherwise. It's either I have to avoid it or I have to fight it. So that's once again a server rule set option. This is what I've been trying to kind of poke at over the course of the episode here, is that there's so many features, there's so many things that could be, one server could have it, another server might not. Different things that players are going to want that they'll specifically be requesting and then throwing their tokens out to actually get the servers put up. All of these sorts of things. I had said earlier about the idea of, some people wanting a more military, arcade style server where you're spawning in a base where there's plenty of weapons and there's tanks and there's thousands of zombies outside, and all you're doing day in and day out in that game. You're not working on survival in the sense of, I'm an individual trying to make it in the world where everything's already gone to shit. More, there's a whole bunch of us, we've got tanks, the rest of the world's gone to zombies. It's up to us to cleanse the world. And I'm sure I would love that sort of thing. I would play on that just for the hell of it, just to get in some gore and some carnage.
If you had unlimited armor, unlimited, ammo, your choice of weapons, great. But, just sitting back and blasting away zombies, for a while, is fun. Forever, no. I think the game is meant to be more of the survival aspect, where taking your chances, getting out there, and seeing how long you can actually survive in the game.
Yeah.
What's that one game they have out? It's more of a cartoon kids game. Don't Starve.
Yeah.
You got to pick your berries, you got to hunt your food, and you got to keep your campfire going at night. So
yeah, Wicked Untamed. I'm not talking about for every server to be like that. Just one to have more of that kind of arcadey feel, and that just being one specific server rule set, that one specific aspect of the community specifically decided this is what we want. This is how we're gonna have our fun, and recognizing I wouldn't play on that all the time. Not by a long shot.
But it would be definitely fun to go there and just blow off some steam.
Yeah, and also learn about the mechanics of the game in a way that you don't normally have access to. You don't normally have tanks and vehicles and assault rifles available. So if you want to be good with them and you want to know that when you go back to the normal server you play on, you're going to be a crack shot with that AR-15, well, the place you're going to get your practice is over on the arcadey kind of server.
Yeah, I can see with that many options in terms of server customization and rule sets, you can see different gameplay types emerge. Or like you had mentioned earlier on Skype, low gravity. There's a game mode in Chivalry where it's like low gravity, and it's kind of funny because you're swinging your sword and everybody's jumping, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is the sort of thing they could do. It wouldn't make any sense. The gravity is what it is for a reason in the game. It's supposed to be at least somewhat realistic with the physics and mechanics. But it's so funny, the idea of I just imagine how it's going to mess with the zombies' AI and their pathing. because they're going to go off a small hill, and instead of just sliding down it, they're going to kind of start doing that spaceman glide for a little while. And yeah. I just imagine all sorts of hilariousness and shenanigans. I mean, it already has a hard enough time handling everything with the regular physics, but that's because everything's still a work in progress right now. The terrain maps, if you'll see sometimes zombies and objects not walking in a place where it appears they should be, and that's because the terrain map wasn't reprocessed and turned into the what's it called? Basically telling the zombies where they can actually path in the world. And it's going to be interesting to see how that works when people actually start building stuff up. Because right now, AI pathfinding for things that are built up compared to things that already existed in the world, it's a different sort of situation, because then they have to deal with things that, you know, might not be done in a predictable way. It's probably one of the biggest reasons why combat and AI stuff hasn't been in Landmark yet, because that's a voxel world, so it has to be able to deal with a procedurally generated world where everything can be different with every step. Fall 2014 for the when it's on PS4. Oh, it needs to be on PC first. Yeah. Don't hold your breath on PS4. Sony Online Entertainment isn't beholden to SCEA for priority releases on console. They're a PC company first.
What did they say when PlayStation 4 came out? That PlanetSide 2 would be a first quarter release, right?
That's
Where
right.
are we at now? Where are we now?
I mean, PlanetSide's almost hitting the 2-year mark. It's a few months away still. It's like a year and a half now. Keyboard and mouse or die. Indeed. So, let's see. A few more notes about stuff. I already mentioned Jimmy finds a lot of... Oh, excuse me. Jimmy finds a lot of guns, not a lot of ammo. So if you find a lot of ammo...
Find Jimmy.
Yeah, find Jimmy, and then you'll have all the guns. No date. Now, the reason why they haven't given us a date for early access for H1Z1, and they've been very clear about this, is that it's not about hitting a specific day and time. It's that when they've got all of the features ready, once they've gotten through all the things that they want to get through, and they're ready to show, get the thing in everybody's hands, then that's actually then they can actually give us the date, and the date will be, probably within a week of actually releasing early access. But until they're really confident with it, the reason why they didn't actually give it to us the 4 to 6 weeks after the 12-hour live stream like they said they were, is because they realized if they gave it to us, it's going to feel like like an incomplete game, and a lot of people are going to try it and feel like, oh, we see the same crap with DayZ and all these other games, and I don't just want another buggy zombie game, and people will come and go and not feel satisfied for their $20. So they'd rather take the chance of having everybody wait a little bit longer and be sitting in anticipation of the game and have it be awesome when it comes through, than to have it come out and feel what they would say is half-assed and something that they're not even happy with, and certainly that no one else would be happy with. So the fact that they've delayed this long it's with the best intentions in mind. It's not because they're trying to stall for anything. They're working their asses off. They are working their asses off trying to get the game out to us. So the date will be here when it gets here. Leaf Raid, Leaf Brad.
Welcome, Raiders.
Hey guys, how's it going? You caught me towards the end of the show here, though. But we got a few more minutes here. Actually, we do only have a few minutes. This is probably about time to start wrapping up. Just go if there's any more. No, I think I covered all of the notes I took today. Yeah. Oh yeah, forums. They're probably going to keep using Reddit. they started doing the dev blogs recently because they realized if they just put the dev blog stuff on Reddit, nobody's really going to see it because the stuff just goes by so quickly that you can't see when SOE posts something and expect it to stay around for too long. So they started using their own website for some of this stuff. But in terms of the main communication, they like Reddit because the stuff that's really important in the community kind of rises to the surface, and the stuff that isn't, goes away.
Well, Reddit also has that up and down voting stuff where their forums don't. You have a like or you don't do anything at all. Personally, I don't like Reddit because it's just if they had a simple search format for me where I could read it in a decent timeline, post after post, without hitting all those subtrees or whatever. Yeah, but will they ever do their own forums? Maybe Sony's getting away from it. I don't know, but Smed likes to tweet and Smed likes Reddit, so that might be their thing of the future.
Yeah, for sure. Okie dokie. So, this is getting pretty close to the end of the show here. Want more people to create fan art, music videos. Let's see what you got. Yeah, Jane, you're one of the very few people that's actually making fan art right now. I'd love to see you make up some fake companies out there too. And they've got it down. Like Flavorly's, that's so hard to beat. It's hilarious. What the hell are hard-boiled ham hocks? But I mean, all the stuff that the community is going to be able to do, there should be some really awesome stuff. And some of it might even make it in the game. So,
didn't Clegg have his own sign too? It was like Clegg's or something.
Oh yeah, the sandwich shop.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you can get the famous Clegg cheese. Okay, so we are for the end of the show here. So I'm going to wrap up, and then once we finish here, we'll be doing a raid. So, I am, as I always am, coming at you every week here, Legendary Neurotoxin, coming at you here with Dead Feature Rant, and a bunch of other shows, Unity Daily, Procedural Powerhouses on Saturdays, Sundays, Castles and Crap Shack, soon Content and Creations instead, and Live Feature Rant for Landmark on Wednesdays. So that's what I'm all about during the week, usually. Daddio, what's your usual schedule? What are you all about?
I'm usually on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till about 2 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern time, and then weekends, random times. Now that I have Destiny and stuff, I'll be streaming more on the PlayStation, but I'm also playing some other games in the evenings. So just hit a follow and a Twitter alert will go out whenever I'm on Twitch, and I appreciate it.
Cool deal. And how about you, Neo?
I haven't been streaming much lately, but once H1Z1 comes out, I'm hoping to free up some time to do that. I've just been really busy with work this month, so.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Hey, Neo, one thing I'd like to do if you want to, man, or Legendary, is get a team stream going where we have 4 players playing the game all at once, everybody in their little corner or something.
Oh, yeah.
Use the one channel that you can display 4 players at once and see how it goes from different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, what was that system called? Khadgar, isn't it? Something like that.
Well, not only that, but
there's a few of them out there.
There's a couple websites like Dual Stream Now and stuff.
Yeah, and multi-Twitch. Yeah, so we'll definitely get to that when we get to it. But that's it for the show. So we're going to do a raid here on one of our former guests here on Tenma over on his channel. He's already got like 80 people. I think he's doing a tutorial in Landmark. So if you're interested in kind of getting some SOE in and seeing some of what the Forge Light engine, how nice it can look in certain situations, then that would be the place to go to check it out. But that is it for the show. Thank you all for coming. N3oplasm and Daddio, thank both of you very much for coming through here. It was great having you, and I'll see you all later.